been staying with me for about a year, and she's about to save our asses. Maybe when this is all said and done, maybe you could help her out too, you know? Maybe you could help her lead a normal life, one where she's not poked and prodded and treated like some kind of lab rat. I don't know, just a thought. Welcome to the Pixel Pop Movie Podcast. My name is Toby. This fortnight I'm joined by the super regular Lucas.
What up?
And the super regular and now 1 year older Ethan.
Yeah, it's me, I'm back. Hooray!
Yay!
You old young bitch.
I know, right?
This fortnight we're going to be bringing you some of the latest news as always. Not a huge amount this fortnight, but that's fine because we've got a lot to talk about. Our topic of conversation this fortnight is twofold. First is we're going to talk about the new Thor movie, Ragnarok. And that's just going to be Lucas talking for about 17 hours straight, and then
listen, this just to jump in here, right? I'm kind of doing this week because next fortnight,
I know, right?
Oh boy, it's going to be Toby talking for 3 hours.
Yeah. I'm going to have to break it down into multiple files because you just can't upload that much at once to SoundCloud.
Does it mean I have to talk a lot about Justice League as well, then?
Yeah, but no one will listen. Ooh, not sure who I'm burning there. And then the second half of topic of conversation this fortnight will be Stranger Things 2 as well. So what we'll be doing is...
Which again will be Lucas talking for another hour and a half.
Could be. So what we'll do is we'll give you our general impressions, which will be spoiler free. Then we'll give you a warning, and then we'll go to spoilers. And I'll be a good boy this fortnight and actually put those time codes in the description below, regardless of whatever platform you're listening to this on, so that if you haven't seen one or the other, you can sort of skip forward without getting spoilers. But before we do all that, we're going to do news. Which of you lovely gentlemen would like to take us away this fortnight?
I can throw in.
Let's go, Lucas.
Yeah.
All right, rad. So I think the biggest piece of news we've got coming out, it's only just really come out today. Apparently there's very, 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 very early talks to do a Lord of the Rings TV show.
Yeah, not sure if keen. Hopefully keen. I mean, it's...
Well, the only way I can really see it working is if they do it like, you know, Lord of the Rings is the first 2 seasons and they do Lord of the Rings Book 1, Lord of the Rings Book 2 for season 1 and 2, you know, I think that's probably the best way to do it. So that way they're not rushing anything and they're getting everything right.
Yeah, it's going to be hard. I mean, look, one of the biggest problems with Lord of the Rings is everyone who's ever tackled it has said, you know, a film adaptation is very difficult. You know, doing it page by page is very difficult. And even like the BBC audio production, it takes certain liberties, creative liberties, because it's very, like most books, very hard to turn into a film. It'd be interesting. I think, I mean, they'll be able to do the Tom Bombadil stuff for the first time ever, which would be kind of neat. But I mean, it's in embryo stage at this point, so I mean, Lord of the Rings fans, don't get your hopes up just yet. But I mean, it looks like they're still keen to milk the cash cow a little bit longer, and guess we'll see. I wouldn't expect to see Jackson behind it, so it'd be interesting to see who they bring on board.
Well, I thought that the Tolkien estate had pretty much put a pause on anything being adapted from any of his works for quite a while.
Yeah, there was a lot of backwards and forwards legal stuff recently, but apparently, from what I read, a lot of that has been resolved. So,
okay.
A lot of the bills have been paid, so to speak. I think it was mainly royalty fees they were concerned about. They said that there was they weren't getting all the money, you know, that they were supposed to be getting. But anyway, so I guess we'll wait and see. Very early days. It'd probably be another 6 to 12 months before we hear anything more. But it's nice, it's neat, it's cool.
Anyway, moving on. Star Wars is now only about 6 or 7 weeks away, and we got another TV spot. Very quick. It was about 45 seconds, and whether or not they're actually going to go this way or not, but at the end they teased Rey versus Luke, so that would be awesome.
Yeah, I still got to book my tickets for that.
Yeah, I haven't done that as well. I need to try and find a way to get the next day off so I can go to the midnight session, because I got spoiled for Force Awakens and I was pissed. Yeah, no, like basically the end of the trailer, I think it was called like Awake or something.
Yeah.
And like they go through the whole story that they've gone through on the last trailer where Luke's talking about, I haven't seen power like this and it frightens me, And then it's that scene where like, you're not going to win this. Like when Luke's like lying there in the rain and the rain's coming down, and then like Rey points a lightsaber at him, and it's exactly the same scene. There's rain pouring down. And
well, Mark Hamill did put a picture up on his Instagram today that someone had sort of like put together, but it was a picture of the 2 posters, one showing the light and the dark side of the Force.
He's in both.
Posters. Yeah.
I think that's because he's grey.
Yeah, he's a grey.
Yeah.
I think they're bringing the grey. Was it the grey code?
I think so. Grey Jedi, one of them is called.
Like they're great Jedi's,
Yeah.
but I think like kind of like how like you've got the Force and you've got the Sith. Like I think it's called the Grey Code.
Yeah, they're not
Where
Jedi's.
like that's
they're
they're
definitely
not Jedi's,
Jedis.
but they're not Sith. They're all about balance. So
Yeah. Best thing you do is just kill all of them. Nobody has the Force. Done. We'll all go back and rely on a good blaster.
What are you talking about? Everyone's got midi-chlorians.
Oh my god.
But there's the other theory as well that Luke's going to have a ascension to villainy like Anakin to Vader, and that will take place over the course of this trilogy, with leading to Rey battling him at the end. So, but we'll see, because that leaves Snoke kind of out in the cold, which I think Snoke should be the villain.
Yeah, I think he probably will be probably going into episode 9. He'll probably still be the villain, I reckon. He'll stick around for that.
Yeah, and obviously he's the Stormtrooper from.
Yeah.
I'm still high on that theory.
That is the best theory I've seen yet. Yep, I love it. Love it.
Sweet. Moving on. So we've had a couple of really good movies this year. One of them we're going to talk about later, but you can't guess which one I'm going to talk about. But apparently there's Oscar campaigns at the minute going for Thor Ragnarok, Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and It, which are arguably probably 3 of the best films this year in my opinion. Obviously one of them I'm a little biased on, obviously It. And then in franchise news, Paramount apparently have signed a film franchising deal with Hasbro to license all of their toys into film franchises. So expect Battleship 2.
No.
Please, no.
No, you're thinking too small. You're thinking too small. The first thing they're going to probably do, and they've been talking about this for a while, is a Magic the Gathering film. And this has been something that Hasbro / Wizards of the Coast have been kicking around for a while. The other potential is, of course, Dungeons and Dragons, and doing something with that IP again, because again, Hasbro owns Wizards of the Coast, which means they own Magic and Dungeons and Dragons. So.
Can we please not get the Damon? What is it? The
they were
Marlon
terrible.
Wayans
They're
one
terrible.
again. That was fucking atrocious.
This is something that I'm currently reading Gary Gygax's biography, or one of, and if you two don't know, he's one of the guys that helped develop Dungeons and Dragons way back when. Even then he was working with scriptwriters to get this sort of film that he wanted out there, and he's since passed away. But look, I as a mad D&D fan myself, I don't think we've done it properly yet, and I would love to see, considering they had, we've done all the Game of Thrones and all this sort of Lord of the Rings stuff. I think it's, now's the time to actually give it a budget and do it properly. That would be really cool.
I feel like Dungeons and Dragons has such a massive... Even Magic the Gathering, they have such incredible lores and such rich and detailed backstories.
They haven't put it in film yet, and I think if they're looking at both, I reckon they'll do a Magic the Gathering film first, because it's untapped IP in terms of... And if that does really well, then maybe they'll have another crack at D&D.
And like, as much shit as we can give them for Transformers, you've got to remember what started at Paramount, MCU.
Sure.
Yeah,
they can put together a franchise, and like I know Kevin was like a very, massive proponent behind the scenes to get those made somewhat right, as good as they could at the time. Like Paramount kind of have a good track record with franchises. This is just going to be another one, hopefully, and if they can launch something like Magic the Gathering or Dungeons and Dragons, I think it's going to be a moneymaker. It'll be an instant moneymaker for them.
Yeah. Realistically, though, we'll just get a Monopoly movie and everybody will be like, fucking why?
That's what I was just going to say. The rights for Monopoly movie then kicking around. Ridley Scott was up to direct it at one point.
Yeah. Because Hasbro owned Milton Bradley as well.
So this is the question I have about the Monopoly movie. Why?
That is the 64,000. Yeah, I don't even know how you... it's just... What you do is you get Charlie Sheen in, and it's like Wall Street, okay? And he's buying property up, and...
I'll tell you exactly
all of us...
what the pitch was for it, okay? The pitch for it going around, when Ridley Scott was involved, was some guy goes out one night, he goes to a party, he gets drunk, they play some Monopoly at the party, he wakes up, and he's in the world of Monopoly.
So it's
He
Jumanji.
reaches into his pocket, and he's like, oh, I got all this strange fucking money.
Yeah,
It's Monopoly money. That was all that was originally pitched about it, was that.
This sounds like the Jumanji remake or reboot.
This
or
sounds like
me
tying a fucking noose and looking for a beam.
That's
terrible.
Make sure...
July 2015, Hasbro announced that Lionsgate would distribute a Monopoly film, with Andrew Nicole writing the film as a family-friendly action-adventure film.
The only way I would ever get that is if Lionsgate teamed up with the Saw team and made it into a horror film. That's the only way I'd watch that movie.
No, that'd be Grape Escape. That'll be that.
Well, I mean, hey, look, stranger things have happened. Ha! But I mean, remember we talked about a few podcasts ago that they were doing a Wizard of Oz horror thing was something they were looking at. So, you know.
So the biggest news coming out of DC, well, actually, we got, in my opinion, it's two massive bits of news, and one of them is because of a specific reason. But Justice League apparently is testing super positively, which is is a good sign. And I remember a few podcasts ago, this is when we were talking about, you know, what the fuck is DC doing? Like I said, you know, Justice League has to be good. Like, it can't just be okay. It needs to be great. And like the early test screenings are coming out super positive. Apparently it's really funny. It has that good balance of light and dark. So I'm hoping that this is true. I'm hoping that the Joss Whedon, you know, reshoots have come in, and because, you know, Snyder loves the dark and gritty, that the Joss Whedon reshoots have come in and lightened it up, and not to the point where it now is a lighter film as opposed to being a darker film. It needs that balance. So I'm hoping that's what's happened.
From what I've read, it still maintains the dark sort of like theme that Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, and Wonder Woman.
I gotta say, the more trailers I see, the actually less excited I get for it. I'm sorry.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, seeing Aquaman becoming a dude bro, and you know, it just gets more and more cliche. I see it, and I'm actually really apprehensive about the film now.
I agree with you with Jason Momoa being Aquaman as like a dude bro to a point. Like, I think they're playing it up to be less of, you know, he's meant to be like royal and kingly and you know and you know, like all that sort of thing, and he's just like a surfer.
But I mean, the initial trailer showed him as this really sort of grumpy, irritable kind of guy, which is fine. And then we hear that his solo thing is going to be like this adult horror film. Can you imagine watching him in a horror film now going, bodacious dude? Like, it's just, you know what I mean? It's, what are you doing? No.
Like a bat. I mean, dig it.
I know I'm a minority here, but I have no problem with the dark and gritty stuff that Snyder was doing, like whatever. That was fine. That was fine.
I like dark and gritty, but I still like to have a slight, you know, shot of optimism and...
Yeah, you know, but I mean, that was what the Flash was in there for. You don't need Aquaman to be funny because you had the Flash.
100% I agree. Like, I think Aquaman needs to, like, you know, if they were going to go the way, like they said initially, of doing that horror-themed Aquaman movie, like, Flash would kind of be like, you know, our eyes into it and being like, wow, look at this amazing world. Like, you know, like he's just kind of been thrust into that.
Yeah, why is Aquaman so somber? Because he's seen some shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Anyway, moving along.
But, yeah, I mean, sounds all good.
Shazam!
Yeah, man, this is awesome. So, for those who haven't heard, Zachary Levi officially has been cast as Shazam. For those that don't know Zachary Levi, probably his biggest role was Chuck in the TV series, Chuck. And he was also Fandral in Thor: The Dark World. But yeah, Zachary Levi, officially confirmed for Shazam. Going up against The Rock.
But the thing is, I think that's... Black Adam isn't going to be in the Shazam movie, though. That's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, like, eventually, like, he's going to go up against The Rock, but, like, it's just...
He's got some bulking up to do, though.
What a weird thing that Zachary Levi... and we all know it's going to happen, that, you know, the hero's going to triumph and Zachary Levi is going to be standing over The Rock. Like, how weird of a concept is that?
Yeah, because The Rock's always a good guy.
Not even that. Like, just, you know, you've got a guy that's 180 pounds wet taking on a guy that literally eats whole cows for breakfast.
Well, that's what I was thinking. He's going to have to do some bulking up soon. He's going to have to do it soon to you know, look the part of Shazam. Either that or the suit they'll chuck him in will just give him the look.
Yeah, well, he got a lot fitter than what he was for doing Thor: The Dark World, even though, like, he was in that for, what, like, 20 minutes of the whole film?
Yeah, it's true.
And then even less for Thor Ragnarok. Like, he got fit for those roles, so I'm assuming he's now going to do what Chris Pratt did for, like, Zero Dark 30 leading into...
Yeah.
What's it called? Peter Quill.
Yeah.
How did I blank on that? But, you know, how, like, he got ripped for Zero Dark 30 and just kind of kept it because he got cast as Star-Lord, and then just, you know, I feel like they're going to do the same thing with Zachary Levi, and I really hope that, like, Justice League 2, you know, he comes into it, so...
Tell me about Gareth Evans.
So, yeah, Gareth Evans is going to be the director for Deathstroke.
If you haven't seen The Raid or The Raid 2, go watch them right now.
Yeah.
Just go watch those two movies.
They've been on my watch list for a very long time.
Non-stop violence, but they are such a good movie.
Haven't watched them.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so yeah, okay, Deathstroke, which is basically, parodied to shit by Deadpool.
Pretty
No,
much. Except
Deadpool-
just yeah. Well, yeah, kind of. Yeah, Deathstroke came out first.
Yeah.
I know, and then Marvel made Deadpool, which is
Marvel.
which is a joke parody of it.
Yeah. I got halfway through what I was saying, and I'm like, yeah, shit, Toby's right. I'm just gonna shut up. And a bit more of other like DC news. Kind of like left field in the sense of like Zachary Levi. I can't say his name, but I know he's Australian.
It'd be Dacre.
Dacre Montgomery.
Yeah.
Decree.
Yeah.
Dacre, that's right. We're watching an interview with him today.
Right.
Dacre Montgomery.
Akadaka.
Akadaka.
What an Aussie name.
Yeah, man, how good is
Hell.
it? His sister's name's Akka.
Yeah, that's it.
twin.
It's
It's
Akra
twin.
and Daka. Righto. Anyway.
So he has put up a picture and then quickly deleted it on his Twitter of Nightwing.
This is cool.
With a triple dot on it.
Yeah.
And for those and just to give everyone an idea, if they don't know that name, they'll know that name later on when we talk about it. He was Billy in Stranger Things, and he was also the Red Ranger in the new Power Rangers movie.
Yeah.
So if you saw the Power Rangers movie, you can see what he can do
think-
from an action standpoint.
Do you think these things are intentional, or do you think he's like, I'll just post this because of this, and then some PR company's like, you can't do that?
I feel like it's intentional to test the waters on the reception of the casting. I feel like.
Yeah,
Right, okay.
I agree. Because that's what Joe Manganiello did too for Deathstroke. He initially put the photo up of Deathstroke, and fans were super positive about it. And then he was like officially announced as being the character. So
This is really weird. What I'm looking at for old Montgomery's films and TV, what he's been in. There's no Home and Away or Neighbours on here.
yeah, he hasn't done.
Strange. This is unlike Australians to not have started off in one of those.
No, but I know he's got a good heritage. From memory, I think I read that he did a stint at the same acting school Heath Ledger did.
Okay.
So yeah, he's got at least he's been taught properly and knows how to act. So which we'll talk about later with Stranger Things. But yeah. Keen.
All right, so over on the Marvel side.
First time I've said that all podcast.
Yeah.
In a quick bit of news as well, Michelle Pfeiffer's officially on set of Ant-Man.
Excellent.
So
Yep, we knew that was coming.
We knew it was coming, but she was just wearing like normal clothes and she was just kind of chilling out.
The money shot is going to be her and Douglas,
Michael Douglas in
suits. Yeah, that's what we want to see.
Yeah.
And I don't mean
was there as
de-aged,
well.
whether it's de-aged or current day. I don't care. I mean, I would like to actually see him current age in suits. That'd be awesome. I think. Show the kids how to do it, kind of thing.
The picture with Michelle Pfeiffer showed Michael Douglas there wearing like a wig in that, so showing it's going to be a flashback scene.
Yeah.
So they may de-age them for that eventually.
Yeah, probably.
At some point during.
And then we have a new promo image for Infinity War, which has some interesting stuff.
Yeah, so basically the picture is it's got Spider-Man, Star-Lord, Iron Man, Black Widow, Captain America, and Doctor Strange with a little bit of Groot head. And probably the most interesting takeaway, surprisingly out of that entire list, is Black Widow. She's wearing like this kind of green and black suit, which is very different to anything I've seen her in the comic books. Another takeaway from the image that obviously we all knew was Peter's wearing the Iron Spider suit. Fuck, it looks cool. Like I'm just looking at it now.
I can't wait to see that in action.
Yeah, and like if the suit that was in Homecoming is like a Iron Spider 0.5, like I can't wait to see what this actual Iron Spider can do. It's going to be insane.
Yeah.
And another quick thing to take away, obviously we talked about this when we saw the big San Diego Comic-Con image. We got another kind of clearer shot at Captain America's outfit. So initially when we thought it was black, it's not. It's actually like weird because we only saw the blue. The blue was just very dark. So it's essentially his Captain America suit. The star's been ripped off the middle. There's no flag. There's no Avengers logo. He's not wearing a helmet. So I got a feeling he's going nomad, but he's also going to be
so nomad.
He's going to be going nomad, but he's also going to have the suit and just take all the patriotic shit off that he can.
Yeah,
so,
he's lost his faith.
I can't say any more how excited I am to see, basically a Cap that has nothing to lose.
Yep. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic. And then talking about going from Infinity War to Avengers 4, they're currently filming that right now. And one of the most interesting thing that's come out the past couple of days is they're actually filming a flashback scene to the end of Avengers 1 where...
Well, an assumed flashback scene at this stage.
Well, yeah, correct. But yeah, like we got Thor in classic Avengers gear. Loki's muzzled up. Iron Man's wearing the the Iron Man shirt with where they were kind of like
Black Sabbath one.
Yeah, taking Loki to that portal at the end to take him back to Asgard. So
yeah,
we're getting another version of that scene. Going to be interesting. I got a feeling.
If it's not flashback, then it's time travel.
I can't see it being time travel because, like, I have a feeling where everything's going. We've obviously talked about it,
but it depends where the stones are by this stage. I mean, if that's been resolved to some degree, and Doctor Strange has got the time stone again, or still, like they might be looking to go back and change a few things, so that they have that's another way you could do it. Like, I know I've talked about universe hopping before, but if, let's say, we have all of these, like, Thor gets killed, all these people get killed, then Strange goes, this won't do, and you do a rewind, and they're jumping sort of and changing key moments perhaps to sort of change that outcome.
What if they've gone back to that point, because that's where Thor and Loki took off with the Tesseract, to sort of change something to do with that?
Maybe swap it out with a bogus one or something so that Loki can't give it to Thanos. Yeah, look, there's a lot. The point is, you could probably tinfoil hat this shit for hours. Like there's and that's why I say assumed. Like, it looks like a flashback, but it may be something more.
Let's crack into Thor, because I want to talk about this.
Yeah, so that frees up some more time to us. So, as I said earlier, we're gonna give you our sort of general non-spoilery thoughts. That probably won't take too long, and then we're just gonna rip this thing open and gush. So, let's get the obvious out of the way. In brief, what did you think, Lucas?
Well, for those who haven't read my review, I thought it was excellent. I
did notice it was only an 8.5 out of 10 though for you.
Yeah, so like.
How dare you?
How dare I?
How fucking dare you?
So, there's a couple of issues I have with it, which we'll talk about later. Overall, it was a very good movie. Like, I think as well, like, it's kind of got to this point where, like, it's another Thor movie. I've got my own preconceived ideas of how it's going to go and what's going to happen. And if the thing that if the thing in my mind doesn't happen, it's a shit film. And, like, I was kind of a bit that way with Thor the Dark World. I enjoyed Thor the Dark World for what it was, but, again, that was one that just didn't really hit the mark for me. But, yeah, Ragnarok was great. The humor at times got a bit much, but it was still pretty good.
You bitch about Korg, I'm going to slap you.
No, actually, I thought... So this is weird. So, like, sometimes, like I said, sometimes the humor got a bit too much. But at the same time, like, Korg was phenomenal. Like, I didn't think I'd like Korg as much as I did, and like, but I love Taika Waititi. I think he's really funny. I just thought that, having a character be purely just comedic relief in a film about, like, gods.
I've been talking in my Kiwi accent all weekend. I've been talking Kiwi accent all weekend. So. Oh, how you going there, bro? That's a nice looking hammer you got there. Be a real shame if something happened to it, eh?
So have you seen the interview that Taika did with Triple J, where he talks about how he got the idea for the accent?
Yeah, it's Maori bouncers, 7 foot tall, 4 foot wide that can kill you with their breath, but they're quietly spoken. Yeah. What interests me is I wonder, like, Australia and New Zealand, obviously, like, we watch this film and we laugh so much because we know that accent, we know that Maori accent. And I've got to say too, it's been highly amusing watching the rest of the world trying to say Maori. Because they go Maori and things like this. It cracks me up. Yeah, Maori. But I wonder how well that's going to translate to, like, say, American audiences or European audiences that aren't quite as familiar with that kind of personality. It'll be interesting.
Yeah. The one thing I can talk about that isn't spoilery that is Easter eggs. Like, the Easter eggs, the amount of Australian Easter eggs in this movie is insane.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen it yet, keep your ear out for the name of the ships.
yeah. So I was about to bring that up. So yeah, there's, like, what was there? So, like, there's
Kingswood, Commodore.
The main ship of the Greymaster. Yeah, the Commodore is like the Grandmaster's ship. Yeah, there was the Kingswood. There was an Astra somewhere.
Yeah, they're all named after Holdens. Yep.
Yeah, just fucking hilarious. And then like the Grandmaster ship as well was the Aboriginal flag, like it was the colours of the Aboriginal flag,
Yeah,
and
then
there's just these really cool like.
Yeah, then there's I think it was the Maori flag or something was on one of the other ships as well. Yeah, look, I have to agree with Lucas. I think like I personally struggled with Thor 1 and 2. They're very Shakespearean. There's some humor elements in there, but it's pretty straight edge for a lot of it, and I struggled with them a little bit. Personally, I loved this film. The humor was fantastic. However, I can understand for Puritans and those that are more invested in Thor how they might feel that the humor was a bit too far. My biggest problem with the humor was, while the dialogue was fantastic, what bothered me was Thor has become a little bit of an idiot. And I know we say like the Tony Stark rub-off. That's fine in terms of dialogue, but to have things like, you know, you throw something and it comes back and hits you in the head, like the gags, I think the gags were what took it too far. I think that the dialogue was spot on, it was hilarious, it was great, but the gags were what took it to a little bit of stupid, you know what I mean?
A majority of the gags, though, come from Valkyrie, in my opinion. So, like...
Yeah, but even then, regardless of where they come from, like, they're in the film. And I just feel... Like, I felt at times watching this film that Thor comes off as an idiot. And Thor isn't an idiot.
Yeah, he is in a way. Like, he's not... Like, he's a master tactician, like, in the comic. Well, not master, but, like, he's very good tactically, but... You know, he can be a little bit of an idiot. Like he doesn't understand specific social environments.
The difference between the character in Thor 1 and 2 and this one is like huge.
No, it is. It is. I agree, and I think like. And
that's what I'm saying. Like again, if you hadn't watched any other Marvel film and you just sat down and watched Thor 1, Thor 2, Thor 3, by the time you got to the third one, some people would be going, "What the hell?
What the fuck?"
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad movie at all. Like I said, I loved it personally, but I can understand how some people might be a little bit sort of put off by that humor, the gags.
Yeah, well, like I was saying, like majority of the gags come from Valkyrie because obviously, like the Valkyries are, you know, they're Norse, you know, legend. You know, everyone knows the Valkyries. They're the people that come and take you to Valhalla. You know, like, Thor grew up idolizing the Valkyries, so the fact that he's in the presence of a Valkyrie, it's kind of like that whole thing of, like, you know, it would be the sense of, you know, Toby being around the Punisher and being like, like...
Yeah, but then again, Thor is a god.
You just turn into an idiot. No, he is. Like, I 100%. But like, I think it kind of like comes from that whole thing of,
perhaps,
you know, if we were around, like me being around Stan Lee, I would just be like a puddle, and I'd just
but Stanley is a god.
No, he is. So that's
like
so
he's a god.
But like, you get where I'm coming from, though.
Yeah,
right?
I understand.
It's just kind of like that whole.
It's just
like,
things like
wow,
the ball bouncing off the wall and smacking him in the face. Like that's a bit.
That was funny.
Yeah, it is funny, but he's a guy who throws his hammer around and kicks ass and then gets smacked in the face by a ball. It's like...
I'm not gonna lie, I full on ugly laughed at that scene. Like when he threw that ball and it come back and hit him in the face. I just busted up.
Alright, so Ethan, in a couple of sentences, overall, what did you think?
I thought it was... Well, I've seen it twice. And I thought, for both ones, like both times going to it, that it was great. To me, the jokes didn't get old. I liked it. Humor was great. I'm probably biased on the movie because of the director and everything else, but I loved it. Especially Korg. To me, he was like the highlight of the movie.
Yeah,
I just want more Korg.
Yeah, I mean, this is by easily my most favorite Thor film because, as I said, I struggled with the first two a little bit. Like they're just, they're a bit Shakespearean.
Jeff Goldblum playing Jeff Goldblum is always good.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's a bit of national pride. There's just so much sort of Australian and New Zealand comedy in this that I could relate to. It was great. You know, whereas the comedy, if you look at the second one, like there's a lot of comedy in this, but it's sort of the traditional American comedy. The only other thing that bothered me, I suppose, was I felt that Loki's character had changed a lot as well. Like he's very, like where we've gone from sort of very serious, like Loki's character's humor is even very dark at times. Like he's done murder and he's all these things, and then all of a sudden he's another sort of goofy lad in this one. So again, like I can see how some people would take offense, or not offense, but just sort of go, "Hey, like what the hell?"
Yeah, what happened to our you know, what happened to Loki, who was,
Yeah,
you know,
because he's
in the Avengers?
He's a little bit of a bro dude in this one. Nowhere near as bad as Aquaman, but he's sort of that dopey fun guy. Like, haha, remember when we did this kind of thing? And it was just, you know, you're a murderer. You killed 80 people in 2 days is what is the line out of Avengers or whatever. Like,
Avengers, yeah.
And then
I think
it's
as
like,
well,
we're all chummy again.
I think as well it's just that he's just tired. Like, because we kind of started seeing that turn in Thor the Dark World. Like, I'm just tired of being this person. You know, and Thor as well is like, I don't want to fight you. I want you and I to be brothers. I want us to rule the galaxy and do it together. And, you know, I think, like, it's just that point where, like, Loki is so bitter. Like, he's over being bitter about how Thor is treated. Like, he's just
maybe
he wants to be better.
The thing is, though, at the end of the day,
Thor sees him as better.
I said I'm watching that film though, and at no point am I not thinking, yeah, but you killed 80 humans in 2 days. You know what I mean? And if you think about that when you're watching this film, it doesn't quite add up. A little
Side
bit.
note.
It's a little bit.
Side note, get help.
Who?
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah, I don't want to do get help. Yeah, exactly. Like,
get help.
yeah. So, anyway, all right, I think we can safely assume that we're about to move into spoiler territory now. So, if you haven't seen this film yet, go ahead and skip forward to our Stranger Things 2 spoiler-free section. But otherwise, if you have seen it, let's get into some dialogue.
Oh boy, and here it goes. The fucking eye patch! Holy shit!
No one expected that.
So, okay, so I have not seen the Infinity War footage, and he has both eyes in that. Like, what the fuck? So,
yeah.
it's one of two things, and like we talked about this kind of off air before. It was either rehearsal takes, or they've CGI'd the eye patch out.
Or the whole thing is that whole trailer's a fucking red herring.
Yeah, which I doubt they would shoot those specific scenes, and not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you see
like
that trailer. You see Thor hit the front of the ship. You see him talking to the Guardians inside the ship, and then you see him getting fucked up by Thanos.
Yeah.
And in all of those scenes, he has both eyes.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, I mean, is he a Skrull? Maybe the Skrull Thor gets killed.
No. Boo.
Unless it was a Skrull ship in the end credits who takes over, you know.
But Hemsworth, there was a thing that went up on Screen Rant before we started the podcast, and Hemsworth has said that the eye patch is coming with him into Infinity War. So
yes.
So it's either it really puts it down to it's either rehearsal shots. Or you know, because they may have intentionally done that so that you know, it wouldn't spoil the end of the Thor movie. Because if we'd seen that and then everyone would have gone, what happened to Thor's eye? I mean, having said that though, it's very canon. I mean, Thor does lose an eye in the comics, but as he sort of inherits Odin's power and all the rest of it. So
yeah.
But what it could be is that when he hits the ship, his eye patch has been ripped off, and they just haven't CGI'd in him, like, his lost eye.
No, because it's not just his eyeball missing. Like, his eye's pretty fucked up. Like the.
They could have just CGI'd that mark on there.
Yeah.
They CGI'd it off in the trailer. They can easily CGI it.
Yeah,
maybe we'll see. I guess we'll have to wait and see. We'll know. I mean, we'll get to. It's only how many months now? Like until Infinity War.
It's like April or whatever next year.
So it's like 5 months or something, right?
Yeah.
We'll know. We'll see that scene where it's going to crack into the ship, and we'll see.
Very excited to see what they do with him and Infinity War. It's going to be sweet. But jumping back to Ragnarok though, like there's a couple. So probably the biggest issue I had was the fact that Ragnarok in the comics starts a very different way. Very different way. There's no, you know, and like we'll talk about the other big spoiler. This is the thing we spoke about last time. The Ragnarok spoiler that got dropped on the project, which was Hela is Thor's sister,
rather than Loki's daughter. And I think to be specific, too, it's an older version of Loki too, isn't it?
So I don't think Hela was an offspring of Loki.
Yeah, she is.
In Norse lore, she is, not in the comics.
No, in the comics, she's the daughter of Loki. So's the wolf.
No, Fenrir is his son, but not Hela.
Yeah, she's Loki's daughter.
Is she? I can't remember.
Yeah, she is. But the thing is, because you know how Ragnarok keeps happening over and over and over again, right?
Yep.
She's the daughter of Loki from like an older version.
Oh no, yeah, she is. Yeah.
Yeah, I know she is. Hey, I do my reading now. We do these podcasts. I like to know what's going on. Yeah, and that was of course changed because we don't delve into the repetition of Ragnarok in the MCU.
Yeah, this is a one and done. Like, it's,
Yeah, exactly.
It's over.
So Loki's obviously too young. Well, kind of too young to certainly have Kate Blanchett as a daughter.
Yeah, agreed.
And even though we know that they're like 1,000 years old or whatever, as an audience, trying to tell me that Kate Blanchett is Tom Hiddleston's daughter, like the audience wouldn't click with that so much.
Yeah, there's no way it would work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, going back to the main issue, I guess. So in the comic books, and even in the original Ragnarok storyline in like mythology, there's something called the Fimble Winter, which is it basically is like the winter in Asgard, where like everyone in Asgard starts to go crazy. There's a lot of paranoia that sets in to the point where like, you know, people take sides, people kill each other. It then leads to Thor and Loki going at it on the Bifrost, and then from the result of that, Thor kills Loki, Surtur gets unleashed and destroys Asgard, and that happens every Ragnarok.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to get a version of this with Heimdall. I actually thought Heimdall was going to lead the charge against Hela.
Yep. No Soulstone, folks.
Yeah, no
Soulstone. We've got Black Panther, and then that's it.
That's the biggest surprise, and I'm going to talk about the Soulstone a little bit later, and it's going to probably pertain to Black Panther spoilers, but that'll be something.
I don't want Black Panther. Fuck that.
No, I think Heimdall still got it. I think Heimdall has still got it. And the thing is, this is possibly why Thanos' ship comes in at the end. Maybe it's not for Loki to grab the Tesseract. Maybe he knows because he was sending Hela in there, possibly as well. Who knows? But I mean, I think he knows Heimdall's got it, and he's coming for Heimdall, and that is possibly.
But we also have
Loki just happens to have the Tesseract,
which we know he hangs on to. Well, assuming that trailer is correct, we know he hangs on to for a while and hands over later.
Yeah, I was about to say, we now officially have 2 Infinity Stones. If that's still the case and Heimdall's still the Soul Stone, we have 2 Infinity Stones in the same place, and Thanos' ship happens to upon them.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
It does. But going back to like my big issue. So basically, I thought that Heimdall was going to lead a rise against Hela, which I was okay with. Like, I was okay with the fact that we weren't going to get Fimbulwinter, and instead we were possibly going to get, the Asgardians and Heimdall taking it to Hela.
I know I keep interrupting. How do you feel about the 3 warriors being slain? Are you okay with that?
Yes, I'm okay with it for one reason. It shows how fucking brutal Hela is.
Okay, cool. Continue.
She's way worse in the comics, and they needed to basically feed her someone or someone or multiple people that means something, and people would get invested into seeing her go down.
I don't want to derail you, so I'll come back to this later. Let you finish your thing, because I've got something to talk about as well in terms of power creep.
Okay. So anyway, I was kind of hoping for Heimdall versus Hela, and then I was kind of hoping for Loki and
so a more traditional comic book storyline.
Yeah, kind of. Like, I was still thinking that Loki was going to turn. Like, we've kind of come to expect that of Loki, that he's not the good guy.
Yeah, but he does in the end, and this time fucking Thor goes, nope, I'm onto your shit.
Yeah, like, that was the weird thing. Like,
it's good, he learns, though. It took him 3 movies, but he learns.
But at the same time, like, Loki's now starting to come around to be a good guy, and Loki's like, alright, cool, I'm doing the right thing. And Thor's like, I'm onto your shit. And it's like, whoa, like, he just fucking helped you, like, escape. But
Loki was going to betray him. He was.
Well, we don't know. We don't know that. Like, that's the thing. Like, at this point, from everything that we've seen and everything that we've been presented, we have no reason to think that, except the fact that he eyed off the Tesseract. Like, that we're only going off an assumption that he's possibly going to fuck him over because he has that Tesseract.
No, he goes to fuck him over. He does. And that's when Thor's like,
But yeah, so what I thought, the original thing I had in my head for the way the final battle was going to go was going to be Thor killing, or either Thor injuring Loki, but not killing him, because obviously we knew he was going to be Infinity War. Hulk versus Fenrir, which we got. Valkyrie versus Scourge, and Heimdall versus Hela, I actually thought Heimdall was going to die, and it was going to end up being Thor versus Hela at the end.
What I thought too.
And then Hela hands over the stone to Thanos.
No, I still thought Hela was going to go down.
Right.
And I thought that we were going to lose the Soul Stone during the burning of Asgard, and it was just going to drift into space, and that's how Thanos was going to find it.
I mean, we all keep thinking that the Soul Stone's got to be somewhere. What if Thanos has already got it?
He doesn't, because we've seen that he can put the glove on in a post-credit scene, and that glove is empty.
Yeah, but we've also seen the footage from Infinity War, and he's got the Tesseract, and he's got the one that's in Xandar, the Power Stone.
I was just thinking about which. He's got 3 in there.
Does he? I thought he only had 2.
Yeah, no, he had 3. I'm pretty sure. I'm gonna completely look at that now because it's bugging me.
So I just want to quickly touch on power creep and why it was there. And if we look at if you look at sort of the earlier films like say Avengers, and you have Loki, who's like quite powerful at that point, and is clearly intimidated by I can't remember his name, the character that serves Thanos in that movie and talks directly with Loki.
The other.
Yeah, okay, so the other is clearly intimidating Loki in that film, right? Like, Loki's worried about him. And in terms of power. And then we go into Guardians of the Galaxy, and then old mate just goes and kills the other like he's a piece of shit, right?
Yeah.
That's power creep. So what it is it's saying it establishes something where you go, oh, cool, this guy must be fucking powerful because it's intimidating such a serious villain. And then in the next film, he's dead like with a click of his fingers, right? And you go, whoa, that just says this guy is seriously powerful, right? That's your power creep. That's the setup. What we're seeing in the end of Thor here is you've got Hela and Thor in full God of Lightning mode, and it is huge. It's a mega battle, right? We've got lightning going everywhere, shit flying everywhere, we've got Hela firing at spikes. Like, you're watching this going, like, this would give Hulk a run for his money, something fierce. Like, you know what I mean? And it's this massive surge in power, and they're doing that because then when you get to Infinity War, and Thanos grabs Thor by the head and just snaps his spine, you go, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, after watching that fight, and then having Thanos just, and slam Spider-Man and all this sort of shit, and punch Tony Stark off the screen and all the rest, like, you then realize, after you've seen these people being at their top level of god-tier powers, and then he just comes along and goes, pfft, you then go, okay, this guy is a serious problem.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've figured out what stones he has in that trailer now.
So what's he got?
He has 2.
Oh, okay.
He has.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Power.
He has Tesseract, and he has the Mind Stone.
Basically, I think everything they've released so far has preserved every twist that they've put into the story.
I felt the Doctor Strange scene was a little rushed, and I probably, because they had changed it all up, I assumed Strange was going to have more to do as they moved through New York looking for Odin, and because of all the changes.
So initially he had a much bigger role in the film, but they didn't want to take the focus away from Thor and Loki, which they thought Strange would do. So initially he was going to be in like some nursing home like 3 blocks away, but they decided to put Odin in Norway. Yeah. And then they basically just was like, Strange was like, all right, cool, bye, and just took him there.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot more powerful since he's filmed too, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's kind of getting to, I think he's getting to Sorcerer Supreme levels.
Yeah, just flying everywhere, portals all over the place, teleporting everywhere.
I don't think though we're going to get Sorcerer Supreme until the end of the second one because they need to do the Strange trilogy where they lead up to the final battle, which I think is going to be Sorcerer Supreme versus Baron Mordo, which will fucking rule.
Well, what, you reckon Doctor Strange 2 will be Dormammu then?
No, I think Dormammu is going to be like an overriding force. I think the final film is going to be Dormammu and Mordo.
Anyway, I loved Korg. Korg was amazing. Taika did that role so well. I'm really looking forward to see how American audiences, as I said, and European audiences respond to.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Get out, you evil ghost!
Rest in peace, Doug 2.
Yeah.
See you later, Doug number 2.
Yeah, see you, Doug 2. No worries, bro. He even says bro at the end. He actually says bro one line at the end.
Yeah.
So good.
Oh, and the best line for Korg was the fucking...
Oh my god, they haven't pulled you off.
No, the buddy of his, he's dead.
Oh, Meek.
Yeah, well, I accidentally stunned him and all the action. but I feel guilty, so I'm carrying him around.
then he's not alive. He's alive, but he was just sleeping. And he's like, "Oh, it's all good. He's all good now."
Yeah, and then there's the whole speech. You can rebuild on the foundations and be strong. Oh, maybe not
and
now.
my foundation's gone.
Yeah, there's no foundations left now. Oh, so good.
But yeah, I mean, overall, yeah, it was a fucking good movie. Small couple of issues, but you know, for the most part, it was pretty good. That's the only reason I gave it 8.5 out of 10. It was just
the public seems to agree with you. It's 8.2 out of 10 on IMDb currently. So
definitely not a perfect film. Like there are a couple of issues with it, but for the most part, fucking probably. I wouldn't say it's the best film in the MCU. Like that's
clearly the original Captain America film.
Get out of here! Get the fuck out of here!
I love doing it to you guys. I love doing this to you guys.
I wouldn't say it's the best Marvel film, like the best Marvel Cinematic Universe film. It's definitely up there, but there's just something about, like, you know, putting that up against the Avengers and seeing the Avengers back to back for the first time. Like,
yeah, to me, the first Avengers are still the best for me.
Yeah. I kind of put it up there between that and Winter Soldier.
Like, you could take a family to see this and everyone's going to enjoy it. You know what I mean? Whereas, like, my daughter, for instance, like, if I took her to see the first Thor, she'd watch it, but I don't think she'd get the same entertainment value from it. Like, this film is just entertaining as a film.
I feel like that would be like the same with my parents. They're not really into the whole MCU thing, but if I showed them this, they'll probably enjoy it.
Exactly. It's got something. It's got something in it for everybody. Yeah. All right. So let's end Thor Ragnarok there with a resounding "Go see it. It's good." And
agreed.
Let's move over to Stranger Things season 2, and we'll start with some non-spoiler overall thoughts.
Yeah, so I'll talk about. I'm gonna say it in non-spoilers. Yeah, there is one episode in this season that I fucking hated.
Yep, everyone hated it.
Oh, yep.
Is everyone? We're also on the same page that 7 wasn't fucking great.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. No one liked Lost Sister.
Yeah, like I felt that was like I just felt that episode was really forced. Like I feel like they needed to give us that episode. And what's crazy is that like last season was only 8 episodes, and they're like, all right, cool, we're gonna stretch this out to 9 episodes. And
it's like, almost like they stuck it in there.
Like this episode was purely put in there to fill out the 9 episodes, which sucks. Because like if they had have just gone, 11, you are super powerful, and she had. Can
I say I've got this bad feeling? I have a bad feeling. The whole point of that episode is to start a spin-off series.
Nah, I feel like the point was.
No, I really, because some of those cast members that they've got in there, I knew those faces. Like the African American guy, he's actually a really famous bodybuilder.
That's Kai Green.
Yeah,
Kai Green. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's a name, and I just thought this has got a feeling of a spin-off here. It really did, because I don't understand. Like, let's not do spoilers. We're not doing spoilers. They're not doing spoilers. I'm shutting up now.
But yeah, I feel like
bad episode.
7 was. I feel like 7 was like super forced and like.
Yeah, everyone I speak to, even my teenage daughter watched the whole thing. She binged it and she went, "That episode was terrible, Dad." But overall, comparing it to say season 1 and everything else, how did you feel? What did you think?
Until episode 5, I really liked it.
Right.
And then
so once we hit Dig Dug, that started to.
I thought, oh man, fucking. That the finale of Dig Dug. So I don't know. Until I saw this, and until I talked about the show with my girlfriend who's American, I had no fucking clue what Dig Dug was.
Well, that's got nothing to do with being American. It's just a video game.
Yeah. So I've just never been exposed to Dig Dug. So like,
it's pretty iconic.
Oh yeah. Well, I know that now. I know that now. But Dig Dug was like the perfect name for that episode, because that's literally what happens in that episode, which we obviously will talk about again in spoilers, but like the finale of that fucking episode was amazing. And like that last couple of minutes, like I was like, we have it like set up in our bedroom, so like, but I was like on the edge of the bed just being like, what the fuck is gonna happen? The first half of the season, including episode 5, I thought was fantastic. 6, it started to fall, but I was like, it's all good, it'll pick up. Then 7 happened, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And then 8 and 9 was like, yeah, cool, I'm watching Stranger Things season 1 again. Like,
Right.
It just all of a sudden was like, they started off really strong, and then it just was like, shit, what do we do? I know, let's do season 1 again in 2 episodes. Like, that's what it felt like.
What about you, Ethan? What were your thoughts on season 2?
I thoroughly enjoyed all of it except episode 7.
Yep.
As almost everyone else. To me, it just... Yeah, I can't say, because it's going to be spoiler shit.
Right. Well, I think, I mean, my thoughts then, I thought season 1 of the first of anything obviously always has a special place, and it's always really hard to exceed the original. It's always hard. But I still I enjoyed this very much. It was great to sort of go back and meet these characters. I think the kids as actors have improved even more. I think Millie Bobby Brown is straight up a fucking amazing actress who's got an extremely promising career ahead of her if she can avoid all the shit that seems to happen to child actors.
Quick jump.
Sure.
Oh, sorry, quick jump. I was about to say quick jump in there. Making her film debut in Gods of Monsters for the new Godzilla movie. So
yeah, she will
fucking pumped.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely check that out. I think she is. I mean, all of the kids were great. All of them, their emotional range was better than the first season. Like, in some cases, I feel they really exceeded the adults in certain pockets. Like, just the ability to show a range of emotion at that age was just incredible. Which is, I guess, I mean, it's testimony to the actors. It's also testimony to the directors getting that performance out of the actors. Yeah, it was fantastic across the board in that respect. The adults, of course, did really well, and it was just, it felt like going home a little bit, like and seeing friends, and they're already working on season 3, which excites me, and what excites me even more is that they're going to do a season 4, and then they're going to stop. And that makes sense. The kids will be old enough too old by that stage. Like you don't want to continue. Yeah, look, there was definitely some weak spots. As I said, the episode 7 there really, I felt like, I won't go into spoilers, but they could have done that story arc in season 3 and done it later. It's sort of like in Jessica Jones, where the mum slaps down the paperwork and goes, "I found these people that did this to you, dun dun dun," and it ends. And then you're like, "Oh, I want to know what happens." It would have been better to sort of do that, where 11 found out something and then was like, "Oh yeah, I have to look into that, but first I got these bigger problems." Paul Reiser, wow, so good. Don't want to go into spoilers, but I mean, he's and even if you watch the making of stuff, clearly cast for his appearance in Aliens, and even he admits, as soon as he walks on you see him on camera, everybody says, "Oh, you're a bastard. We can't trust you. We know what you did in Aliens." And even he said, that's what it kind of felt like being in this. Sean Astin, the original Mikey out of Goonies. Oh my god, so good to see him. And the Easter eggs that he drops. X marks the treasure. Oh my god, dude, so good. Great to see him in this.
I screamed when he said X marks the treasure.
I know,
I was
right?
just like, it's fucking Goonies again.
It's so good.
I was like, for the fact that it takes inspiration from the Goonies.
Oh, very much.
And they've got Sean Astin in here. It is great.
Yeah.
So that as I was watching the second season.
But overall, look, I thought the acting was better. I think for the most part, the story was good. We had some dips. The guys and girls behind this series, though, I think are pretty switched on, and I'm sure they're going to take a lot of this feedback as they go into the next season, and perhaps try and avoid some of those things. I said I genuinely wonder if there was some pressure from Netflix to sort of say, "Hey, we want you to pursue this avenue for a spin-off series." Yeah, I do. I really do. I hope not, but I kind of get that feeling.
I was about to say, I really hope that's not the case.
Because it's very apples and oranges. Like, you look at the cast of Stranger Things and their story, and then you look at the cast and the story of that particular episode, and they're very different. Like, beat for beat. It's extreme. It's a complete... The violence is different. The everything about it is a very different story. It doesn't fit in at all. It's like a jigsaw puzzle piece that's been pushed into the hole it doesn't belong in. It really feels like a completely separate entity. And I think that's why a lot of people sort of go, "What the better because it takes you out of the story. And I honestly, I really do think that they're looking at it as a potential sort of spin-off series.
Yeah.
All right. So in summary, I think we all agree it was very good, apart from some sort of dips later in the season. But overall, I mean, there's absolutely no reason why you shouldn't be watching this. Great stuff from Netflix. All right. Having that said, all that, let's now, if you haven't watched Stranger Things season 2 in its entirety, then time to switch off, and we'll catch you in a fortnight for the Punisher podcast. If you have seen it and you're ready to start talking shit, then stay tuned, because here we go.
So a major gripe is it was going to be the kids versus the Mind Flayer, and season 3.
Maybe.
Oh, definitely. I mean, he's still looming over the school at the end, so definitely season 3.
She's closed the rift now, so that's obviously pissed it off. But what I thought was interesting was, I mean, at the end of season 1, we see Will spit out the slug, right?
Correct.
And having watched season 2 now, I actually took away from that was, I think it was the Shadow God was able to do what it did because Will brought back the Upside Down with him into our world.
Yeah,
he made that connection by bringing back the slug, right?
That's what happened.
And it gets into the sewers and the tunnels and all the rest of it. So I think it's a case of, it's going to be looking for more openings, and they've certainly got its attention now. But at the same time, I don't want them to do the same thing every season. And we need to stop picking on Will.
Yeah.
And we need to stop fucking up the Bowers house.
At least Will got some decent screen time this season.
Yes.
Unlike last season.
Yeah.
So I think that's a big probably piece of praise I could offer, is that, like, Will didn't really get much time to shine in the first season. So, like, this kind of had to be the season where, like, first season he was the boy in distress and everyone had to get out there and try to save him. This is the season where he had to show what he could do, because I feel that if he didn't perform this season, everything moving forward is going to be, is going to have a lot of tainted opinion, because how can you build a story around someone that you don't care about? And he was fucking excellent. Like, he exceeded every expectation I had.
Yeah, so the acting from the kids was incredible.
Like, but the acting from the kids in the first season was good too.
It was good. I absolutely agree, but I just feel they're even better now because they've got the experience.
Again, I agree. They've had time to kind of sit in their characters, but compared last season to this season, there's only one character that didn't really get time to, evolve and be the character they needed to be. That except for Will, like, he's the only one that, essentially, the first episode of this season, he was essentially a new character because for 6 of 8 episodes last season we didn't see him.
Yeah.
So, and like, if you're gonna hinge a story on a character that was introduced last season that we know fuck all about, like, he couldn't be just good, he had to be great, and he was better than great. Like, he was fucking excellent. Was
I the only one that thought that Sean Astin's character of Bob was actually a bad guy to begin with, that he was a plant from the Hawkins lighting or whatever it was, and was there to keep an eye on the Bowers family?
So I didn't even think that at all.
Didn't you? I did. I thought he was a plant to keep an eye on Will.
So, I don't know if you guys were keeping up with all the Twitter stuff. So, like, as I was watching it, so we watched the first 5 episodes on the first night. We watched the last 4 on the Saturday morning. And I was keeping up with, like, what was happening on Twitter, and I was watching people's reactions as the episodes went through. And, man, it's Barb 2.0.
Yeah,
like,
you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Because, like, not that everyone thought Barb was shady, but, like, it's that whole thing of, like, that's a character we didn't expect that we would appreciate, I guess.
Yeah.
And, like, I was already going to go into being like, fuck yeah, Sean Astin, he's sweet, but, like Toby said, I thought he was going to be a plant. I thought, there's some shady shit going on with this guy. Like, he's too much of a nice guy. Like,
exactly.
And, like, that's kind of something that we come to expect from a lot of shows, where, like, the twist is the super nice guy is the one that's he's a villain. He's got ulterior motives. There's something wrong, and, like, I'll get into this later, because I'm talking more about the character itself. But, like, even up until he got his face ripped off, like, I'm like, he's gonna do something dumb. Like, he's gonna do something, and it's gonna get someone killed, and like just something's off about him. And then like he did the whole, Bob Newby, superhero, and I'm like, yeah, no, you're a prick. Like, what the fuck's up? And then he like sacrificed himself essentially to save them, and I'm like, I can't believe I thought that bad of you.
And maybe and testimony to the writers, and maybe that's the whole play. Maybe they wanted us to go down that path and then go, oh no.
Yeah, I feel that's exactly the same.
I mean, speaking of feeling sad for people, oh man, Dusty at the end. I nearly cried. Because we've all been there. We've all been there at some point. When no one wants to dance with him, and he thinks he's got the confidence, and he does all this, and he takes Steve's advice, and he's got the hair, and then no one dances with him, and you're just like, and he's crying, and I'm just like, oh man, my heart just like shatters. Dusty, he lost his girl, then he couldn't get a dance, then Zombie Boy gets a dance. Oh.
I think it goes without saying, I think Dustin was probably the MVP last season. Like, he's the character, like, just a lovable goofball.
Well, and he moved things along a lot as well. He's like, come on, guys, we've got to do this, we've got to do that.
Yeah, and like, as well, he's very heavy into the D&D lore, and he's the one that drives a lot of that D&D comparative stuff. But, like, season 1, I thought Dustin was probably the best thing about that whole show. Take out the fact that 11 is in it, and 11 was fantastic in season 1. Like, Dustin was my MVP of that series.
You know what I gotta say? As an older sort of viewer, what I love about these characters now, like, Dustin is not Chunk. Like, you never one-to-one the Goonies. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they've got their own personalities.
Yep. And
that was something I was worried about going into season 1, was like, oh, is it just going to be Goonies? Like, am I just going to draw parables between each of the characters and say, oh, this is Mouth and this is Chunk? But it's not. And you can still go watch Goonies and it's not Stranger Things either. So that's cool.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Another little Easter egg, of course, as we were watching the episode where you have the soldiers moving through the tunnels. It was such an Aliens moment. It was glorious. The soldier says, "Stay frosty." That's a direct quote from Aliens. And then I'm thinking, I said to my wife at the time as I'm watching, like, all they need is motion trackers. And then it flicks back to The Office. And apparently this has been confirmed. The sample used in the motion tracker in The Office is from Aliens.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's fucking excellent.
It's so good. I'm just, wow. It's Alien. Because you've got Paul Reiser sitting there, and you're just like, wow. What a homage. Like, this is just straight up Aliens. Steve, what a great, like, performance out of the ex-boyfriend now. I'm a little sad that they went down that route, but I get, because it was great to see. It was like in season 1, you were sort of like, oh yeah, she hooks up with the cool guy and then she dumps him for the nerd. We've seen this story a million times, and they didn't do that, which was cool. But now they kind of done that.
Yeah, I don't know how, in the space of like 16 hours, 17 hours. I go from hating a guy to absolutely like being destroyed for him. Like,
yeah.
Because it was like he was doing everything he could, and like, truth be told, Nancy was a fucking bitch. Like,
she was a cow this season. Yeah,
dude, she was such a bitch, and like, he's kind of like, we need to like suppress everything and we need to do the right thing, and we're like, and she's like, no, we need to do justice for Barb and all that shit. And like, I was like, dude, like, if you're gonna get threatened by the fucking government, like, they're gonna kill you.
On the upside, though, we get an absolutely glorious and gorgeous bromance between Steve and Dustin, which I fucking loved.
Oh, and that comment about how he's like, I know I was a shit boyfriend, but I'm a good babysitter, I busted up at that.
Yeah, no, I mean, Steve pulls his thumb out, and he does. He really heroes up. And you see that scene where they're in the junkyard and Steve's holding off the demidogs, as Dustin calls them, and he's like, what is he doing? He's crazy, and Dustin's like, he's being awesome. Like, there's definitely a bromance there, and I think it's awesome. I love it, and I love the dialogue of that train track scene where he's telling him about the hair and how to treat girls and stuff. Like, not that I agree with what a lot of you said, but just that whole scene was just amazing, and I'm glad that exists.
Yeah, I think, like, probably I think Steve was probably my favorite characters, because, like, in the first season I didn't really like him, but, like, I kind of came to like him at the end.
He was going to get killed. He was meant to die.
Yeah, and speaking of actually characters that were going to get killed, Bob was not going to last that long.
Yeah, that's right. Bob was supposed to die sort of halfway through.
So Bob was meant to die. So basically, he was meant to give Will the speech about fear and then die the next episode.
No. Will was apparently supposed to sort of dark power him or something. I had heard because Will's journey was going to be a little bit different, and then Will was going to like total like dark power him. And I think that might be something.
Oh yeah, no, but that was going to happen in the next episode.
Well,
though,
if
right?
you watch
It wasn't
the
gonna happen
making
in
of
car
stuff,
ride.
if you watch the making of stuff, which is just them sitting around the table yakking, I feel there could be a little bit of a slip. Because in one of those conversations, Millie's talking to the actor who plays Will, and she said something about, "Oh, we've both got powers," and you might have to go back and watch it.
Maybe Will has powers.
I'm thinking going into season 3, like this experience has given Will some gifts, and I don't think they're the same as 11's. Like I think he's going to have a completely different power set, so to speak. Could be wrong, but it was just something I noticed when they were talking, and the Duffy brothers are there, and the director's there, and just the way they're talking, and then I'm pretty sure it's Millie, but it could be someone else, and they're saying something about like, oh, you both have powers, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, Will doesn't have powers. Will's never had powers, but they definitely mention like Will having these powers, and I'm like, okay, I know like while he's got the smoke in him. There's obviously he's controlling or at least communicating with the demidogs, but like he doesn't really have powers, so it could be interesting.
I think they're kind of like alluding to the fact that he was the spy. Like,
oh, he was definitely the spy.
No, yeah, that's not what I mean. Like the fact that he was the spy. Like I feel like he's got that telekinetic link between himself and the Mind Flayer. So like, I feel his superpower will come his power will come from the Mind Flayer.
I think his power is going to come.
His ability to.
Well, I think his power is going to come from the upside down. I think his power is going to come from the upside down. He's been exposed to it inside and out so much. Whereas I think sort of 11's power is going to be like the light, so to speak. I think Will's power is going to be the dark. Not necessarily evil, but just a different type of power.
Yeah.
Whether that comes to a head later on or not, I don't know, or they can work together. It'll be interesting. And of course, with episode 7 and The Lost Sister, look, I loved the opening to the season where she does that boom and all that, and I'm like, okay, that was really cool. And I kind of always guessed we were going to eventually sort of see some other, sort of the other girls with the powers. Yeah.
That's what I hope it just is. Just showing us that the others are out there.
I feel that 11 could have gone and met her mother. Her mother could have had this conversation with her, and then she's like, okay, I know you're out there, but I've got other problems right now.
Well, her mother couldn't. She's in the wheelchair, remember?
No, but she talks to her mother through her mind, right? And her mother's the one that gives her the tip off about 8. And she goes and looks into it further. I just feel that if you wanted to have her go meet her mother and all that, that's fine. But you could have easily, because they're saying the whole point of, in the making of, they're saying the whole point of that episode is so that she learns to harness her power and be stronger by being angry, right? I feel, in terms of a script, you could have just as easily, she meets her mother shows what they did to her, and her mother, who also has some gifts, says, this is how you use your power. Right? It would have been a lot quicker, it didn't take a whole episode, and then she could have gone out and she could have head back to town, and she's learning how to use her power better, and that's it. You didn't need to do this whole thing at all. It makes no sense to have it in there at all, other than unless you're going to do a spin-off. Because, I mean, it's been enormously successful, and, you know...
Yeah, but I feel like if they were going to do a spin-off, like they'd need to have the Duffer Brothers on board, and the Duffer Brothers have said they've got a story.
Sure.
Like they've got an outline. There's a
but that's what I mean. It's in
like,
Philadelphia. It's a completely different place. Like you could have different writers, different directors, different. I mean, Netflix.
Chicago.
Yeah. No, I thought it was Philly. I'm pretty sure it was Philly.
Chicago.
No, Chicago, because when we were watching it, Brandy was just like,
Chicago.
Right.
God, I missed that skyline. Which, funnily enough, people have been calling out continuity errors about the skyline, but that's a whole different.
But I mean, I think, look, maybe Netflix were testing the water. Hopefully, like whatever they had planned with that storyline, hopefully with the negative feedback they get, they just drop it. I have no problem with 8 turning up and doing a little bit of stuff, but the town of Hawkins is just as much a character of the story as the rest of the actors, and it just felt weird leaving. I know they wanted to leave so they could sort of show some other sort of the other side of 80s and all the rest of it, but like most people, it just really did nothing for me. It's a Tom Bombadil scene, right? It just doesn't move the story forward. There's no need for it to be in there. And it's odd, yes, because everything else on Netflix tends to be either 8 or 13 episodes, and all of a sudden we got 9. It just feels like it was bolted in there. artificially. How did you feel about the new child actor, Mad Max, Maxine?
I thought she was alright.
Yeah, and her brother.
Yeah, her brother.
Billy.
That fucking asshole.
Yeah, but I mean, power to him. Like, he acted that part really well. I mean,
Yeah.
you've seen him in other things, and he's not like that. I mean, he did the part really well.
Reading Easter eggs, and I just saw one that's made me bust up laughing.
There's so many.
So Dustin and Dart. So obviously Dart was the little thing that evolved into the demidog.
Yeah.
So the season-long bonding session over their mutual love of candy bars invokes how Chunking gains Sloth's trust by giving him the baby Ruth.
Yep. Was I not the only one? I actually said out loud when I was watching the series, when he had Dart, put him in the tank and gave him the candy bar, I said, "Don't feed him after midnight."
Yeah, and the other thing was the list of things not to do. Don't be an asshole or whatever it was. The 3 rules were the same 3 rules. As
don't get them wet.
Gremlins.
Don't feed them after midnight, and
yeah,
don't expose them to sunlight or something like that. I think it is. Yeah, it's been a long time.
yeah,
Definitely
yeah.
Gremlin's influence there though, because he doesn't like the light either. It's like bright light.
Yeah.
You know. So.
Yeah. There was another thing that I wanted to bring up, and I've now just completely blanked
To me,
on it.
the whole thing with Bob's death, as soon as he started running down that corridor, I said, I'm like, he's going to run to the end of the corridor, get away from them, and then something else will get him straight away.
Yeah. And
sure enough, it happened. To me, it was obvious that was going to happen as soon as he started running. You knew he was going to make it, but you knew when he thought that he was in the clear, something else was going to get him. To me, that was a little bit predictable.
Yeah, I just don't think I thought I remembered too when I was watching the show. Do you recall prior to season 2, before we sort of had anything, or we'd watched any of it, there was a lot of rumors, and I'm pretty sure Screen Rant had some articles about this as well, where season 2 was going to look at Hopper's daughter closer, and that she might still be involved in some way. Like, we know she dies from cancer, but it was like there was a lot of this going around that it was going to heavily involve Hopper's daughter. Do you remember that?
No.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was definitely in print. I remember reading it from multiple sources that we were going to look at Hopper's daughter, from a different, like that, whether it was flashback or whether, there was some more mystery surrounding her death, or whether she might be in the Upside Down or something, like, yeah, obviously there was nothing in this one about that. Maybe it's not happening, maybe it might be next season, I don't know.
Maybe they just didn't go with it at all. And I'm going to.
Yeah.
I don't remember it at all, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure I can Google it up and find it. I remember reading about it, that it was, that there was this announcement, or not. I don't know if it was official, but there was sort of on the set rumors going that it was going to have this sort of storyline in it. So,
did anyone else think of like them walking around the flamethrowers burning things? Did anyone else think of the Thing?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
definitely
Thing posters on the wall of a couple of the kids' rooms and stuff. Like,
I didn't even notice that. No.
Oh yeah, it's there in a couple of places. Yeah, John.
Yeah, no, it is.
Yeah, definitely.
Speaking of posters though on the walls and kind of bearing into the story, did you guys catch the Metallica reference?
Yeah, the poster in the room.
Yeah, so the song that Billy is jamming out to is the Four Horsemen, which is for these 4 guys who have to take on an not 4 kids, it's the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, but they're like taking on an extraterrestrial threat, kind of mirroring what's happening in Stranger Things and what's happening at the time of the show.
Well, I mean, that's probably about all I've got to say for Stranger Things too. I mean, we could probably sit here and gasbag Easter eggs all evening, but there's a lot of them in there, and you guys, if you obviously you have seen it if you've listened to this. But I mean, it's one of those shows I think you can go back and watch a second time and just look for all the Easter eggs, because there's so many of them in there. Look, apart from that dip, which I think everyone agrees was terrible, I think they closed the story off a little bit more solidly this time around. Like, they didn't throw away any sort of lines to sort of say, hey, look, this stuff's still happening. Like, apart from that final scene with the shadow out there, which really could still be nothing. It could just be showing you the Mind Flayer. It still exists in the Upside Down. It's moving, but if it can't get back in, then that's too bad. I know that the Duffy brothers have got a 20-page sort of treatment that explains thoroughly what the Upside Down is.
Upside Down is, yeah.
But they've also said there's a good chance that they're never going to reveal all of that. You might just, that's the way it is. But that also implies to me that the Upside Down is going to sort of return in season 3 and probably 4, and that it has a bigger part to play. So, but I mean, without it, you don't get all the weird shit. You don't quite have the story that is Stranger Things either. So, but I do hope they sort of come at it from a slightly different angle in season 3. Maybe more of a sort of a, I don't know, a thriller style thing. I don't know. Like this season definitely had a bit of action. It kind of felt like the first one was Alien because you just had the one Demogorgon. This was really Aliens, which was the action pack sort of version of Alien where you had, multiple creatures and all the rest of it. And that's cool. We've seen that now. I'd just like to sort of see something a little bit different with season 3. How they do that, don't know. Interesting. Looking forward to it. But I don't want to see, as much as I love them, I don't want to see a repeat of season 1 and 2. I want to see something...
Hopefully not, yeah.
Yeah, a bit more fresh. Yeah, I'd like to see them deal with something a little different, I guess.
Yeah, I'd like to keep it the way like the sci-fi that it is now, but then also kind of have its own identity. Like I feel like it relies too much on the nostalgia to get it by and to make it kind of be like, hey, you guys remember Goonies? You guys remember, Close Encounters, which Close Encounters as well was another very big driving influence this season. I noticed with, all the shots of like Will going out when he's at the arcade and going through the front door and like that scene in Close Encounters where like the kid's standing at the front door and the mum closes it. Like there was a lot of Spielberg visual influences.
Yeah.
And I kind of hope it starts to go a bit away from that and kind of become its own thing.
I think one place they haven't gone yet, and is the boys go and have an adventure all together in the Upside Down. That's something we haven't done yet. Like they've, you know what I mean? Like they need to go and recover an item. And what would be neat is in the Upside Down is that they meet something that's intelligent. And I don't mean like otherworldly intelligent, but I mean something more, humane intelligence, something that we can relate to, and they could have a conversation to and talk to and learn.
What I want to see is, I want season 3 to bring in like another monster or something like that. We still got the Mind Flayer, but not bring like the Demogorgon or the Demidog back.
Yeah.
Something new, like a new
something
creature,
fresh.
something from there.
Definitely. Yeah. And Lucas,
Yo,
how was the pullout?
Oh fuck me! So when that guy Brett Gelman is his name, he is fucking incredible. When he came in on that first episode, like I was like, holy shit, it's him! Like I was just like, oh cool, he's in it. And then like he ended up kind of being a major part of the series, and I'm like, I really hope they bring him back.
I think they will. I think he will. I mean, they're on. He's onto them now, and I just love that line. How was the pullout?
Yeah, and like he like does the spit take with the drink.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
that was great. But I don't know if Jonathan's going to be coming back now after all the shit. Yeah,
he might not be. He might not be coming back for season 3.
Yeah, naughty boy.
Well, what did he do?
He got caught at the airport with some cocaine and got deported back to the UK.
Yep. And from memory, if you're if you're caught with drugs, and you're
they don't let you back.
Yeah, if you're not having you back, but I think it's like a 5-year ban.
And it also depends on how much he had. If he had enough just for personal use and not, enough to show he is intent to distribute, then he might be allowed back sooner.
Anyway, I think that's about. I've got a lot of editing to do, so I guess that's about all we've got to say on Stranger Things season 2. Next fortnight we'll have, at very long last.
Oh boy, here comes the Wankfest.
The Punisher.
And Justice League.
Justice League.
Yeah, fuck that. The Punisher. Super keen.
I don't know how I'm going to watch Punisher in like 2 nights. I'm going to watch it Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be busy on the Friday night, so for me it's going to be a Saturday Sunday binge, and then we'll be podcasting in the evening, so it'll be fresh. It'll be fresh in my mind.
It'll be super fresh. If that's the case, I'm probably going to take my time with it and not rush it like I've done with everything else.
Yeah. No, we'll probably be looking at recording around the same time, so take your time.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right, boys and girls, ladies and gents, thank you very much for tuning in. If you have any questions, queries, comments, insults, whatever it might be you want to hurl at us, throw them at us either through our Facebook page, SoundCloud, YouTube, the website. I mean, we're just going to stick this everywhere. Thank you very much for listening. And we will catch you next fortnight. Dun 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 dun.